So I heard you telling Tucker that you'd never had COVID, and he said you're lucky, and you said it's not luck. It's this. It's my T cells. And that made me wonder whether, like I was saying, can anybody get this? Like, did you have low ALC and therefore you did the injection on yourself, or did you just take
No,
it when COVID
yeah.
was circulating?
So there's two things about T cells. And so the BioShield is the platform. The one hand, what I talk about now is this IL-15 that actually proliferates and supercharges, and that's approved. But
IL-15, that's what you
imagine
call the drug?
it's called Anktiva.
Okay.
I'm trying not to give you a commercial name, but,
Okay.
but
Okay.
that's what, but that's what it's called. It's Anktiva. It's the activated NK cell for T cell for life. That's what Anktiva is.
Makes sense.
And it's this IL-15 in a little vial, literally half a cc injected subcutaneously. And it acts amazingly because that's what God's given us. So again, coming full circle to, did I invent this? No, God invented this. What we did was enlighten ourselves to figure out what key we needed to activate what's in your body. But imagine if we could not only activate those T cells, but educate the T cells before we activate them. Educate them to recognize a specific antigen. And that's what we're doing in Lynch syndrome. Patients with Lynch syndrome have about 80% increase of colon cancer. So we pre-activate their T cells so they can recognize a T cell against the colon cancer.
Mm.
So one of the things on COVID could, and we can talk a little bit about that, and I spoke at great length to Peter Marks and to Fauci and to Collins, to the entire NIH and NID during the Biden administration as well, that we need a T-cell vaccine. And I think I sent you the YouTube where John Cohen from Science and myself and Peter Marks in 2022 did this interview begging the country to get the T-cell vaccine. So what I did is I built this T-cell vaccine. And by the way, as you remember, billions of dollars were made available. And I'm proud to say it was difficult, that we've never used one single penny of government money, uh, partly because we never received one single penny of government money, so that I could have the freedom to actually build what I needed to build, what I think was right for the human race. Because my concern was that the current vaccines, the antibody-based vaccines, would not stop transmission. By that I mean, you'd get this vaccine, it maybe would block a little bit, but the virus would get in, it would grow, it would use your body to grow, and you would transmit it to another person. And my greatest fear would be not only it would grow, it would persist. And if it persists, now you have autoimmune disease, inflammatory disease, and even potentially turbo cancers. So the solution to that, and the solution was facing us in 2021, 2022, was to develop a vaccine that would stimulate the T cells and NK cells, but the T cells would be educated against the COVID nuclear capsid. So the COVID has two proteins inside it. One is spike, and one on the inner core of the COVID called the nuclear capsid. And if you could create a T cell vaccine to the nuclear capsid, you may have a universal T cell vaccine to any COVID comes along, because that nuclear capsid doesn't change. That spike mutates all the time. We had developed that vaccine and completed phase 1, and I injected myself to test that I would have T cells against that COVID antigen, and I do. Remarkably, the FDA put us on hold when I asked to use that as a booster. So to this day, nobody could explain the reason during that time frame. And so it was never developed.
Wow. What is there any chance it could be developed and used now? Because people are still getting the COVID boosters. We just saw in the news today that Moderna just received the full US FDA approval. Like it had been on the emergency use authorization. Now it's fully approved. They're still pushing this thing on people. But we have a new administration. We have a new great head of FDA. So is there a chance it still could come to life?
The answer is yes. In fact, I was so desperate that I'm willing to give it away, literally give it away. I actually, during COVID time, had another molecule called the ACE2 decoy that I approached, and I won't name him, a major CEO, and said, please take this, please grow this. This is not about money. This is not about driving more revenue to the company, even though Moderna and BioNTech and Pfizer have really benefited largely from that. This is almost from a virus versus man, and this is for humanity, where really we need to find a way where what scared me, and we can get into this, Megyn, this ACE2 receptor, this is not a respiratory virus. This virus is like cancer. This virus gets into every part of your body. And when it gets there, it uses your body as a factory, whether it would be the virus or whether it be the spike protein of this mRNA vaccine. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And that's what scared me. And sadly, I'm now seeing the fruits of what this virus is doing. And this virus has really beaten us. We have the opportunity to fix it still. This administration has the opportunity to fix it still. The science is complex, and the question is, will the FDA even understand this science? Is the current and old FDA equipped and modernized sufficiently? Not, and I see Marty Makary trying to improve the modernization with AI, etc. I think that's wonderful. But the real modernization this FDA needs is to understand the science. And I don't think this FDA has actually grown sufficiently fast enough with sufficient, I don't want to say the word intellect, with sufficient expertise to understand the evolution of the science at the molecular level, at the immunology level,
what do you make
relates to drugs.
I think of Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who of course is running NIH, and he too was screwed by Francis Collins, his predecessor, as I know you were. Collins was afraid of you. He perceived you as some sort of a threat, and you discovered evidence that he intentionally meant to undermine you and freeze you out. And that's exactly what happened to Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who was running around during COVID, wisely saying we shouldn't be quarantining all healthy people. We should be doing focused protection, protecting only the most vulnerable. And Francis Collins and Fauci made it clear they wanted to smear him as some sort of an extremist, a fringe doctor. So what about him? Could he be of help? I'm not saying Marty Makary wouldn't be helpful to you, but you're suggesting maybe there isn't the manpower at the FDA to actually see this through. How about Dr. Jay Bhattacharya and going bigger over at the NIH?
No, I'm hopeful of that. And that's why, I was very, very supportive of Bobby Kennedy becoming HHS and bringing on the right people. I've not yet met Jay, and I look forward to meeting him. And you're completely right. And that's one of the few tweets I made, very sort of politically correct, that so few people could hurt so many. And they did. The time frame you're relating to is President Trump's first term. When he was president-elect, apparently I was considered and nominated to be the head of NIH. Francis Collins heard about that and had a very active campaign trying to smear me. It turned out anyway, I said to the president then, I really need to work on what is now the BioShield, thinking he would have 2 terms, and in the second term, he'd be on the path to the cure of cancer. And he didn't win the second term, but interestingly enough, serendipitously, it allowed me more time, and we are now ready. So while the previous administration, literally during the Biden years, we were canceled, literally canceled, the opportunity now to take all the work and put us on the path in this administration. I think only this administration can make this all work. We could find the treatment to prevent this COVID from, find a universal COVID vaccine. We could actually treat patients with long COVID, and we can actually be on the path literally to the cure of cancer. So, and even the prevention of cancer. It would require really a deep understanding of the science, but more importantly, require a deep understanding at the FDA level. Megyn, my fear is as follows. I met the president in Riyadh and I met the president in Qatar, and I'm watching China really explode in terms of their science. And my fear is as follows, is that America has the scientific and intellectual lead, but China's going to beat us. And the reason they're going to beat us is because the regulatory process is completely related to actually advancing technology. Our regulatory process is stuck in this old dogma and stuck in checking the box and stuck without recognizing the science. So my fear is that we will not only lose jobs, we will lose the biotech industry and we'll lose the race. Not because we don't have ingenuity, not because we don't have the best brains and the best scientists, and not because we don't have the will or the resources, as now President Trump has put forth, but because we'll have a regulatory obstruction.
Since President Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at a breakneck pace. But don't forget, while they're moving mountains for the good of the nation, you've got your own personal savings to worry about. And one of the best ways to look after your savings is through diversification, particularly with gold, like from Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. OMG. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by buying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is high, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold extremely easy. Easily convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text MK to the number 989898 and Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of your savings today. Text MK to the number 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.